A very good morning to you, Desiree, and to our viewers at home. Today is an exciting one because it's starting with just issues of women under the spotlight. Today marking, of course, International Women's Day, and we saw it fit that even in this segment, as we cross to you, we bring you a woman that will just let us in on her role here into this space. Here, I'm talking about Tivoni Events, as she's coming through from South Africa's Electro-Technical Export Council. They are, of course, a bridge between African countries here on the continent and their governments in trying to ensure that the businesses move. They are involved in the electrothermal space, and she'll let us in really on her role here and their role here. But I must say, it's been an exciting 2 days so far. The suits are out. Men and women are ready to discuss solutions to the issues of the energy crisis that have been existing here on the African continent. I'm going to bring Tivoni into our conversation right now, who will just let us in on really her role here. It's an exciting one, Tivoni, and happy International Women's Day. Welcome to the SABC.
Thank you so much, Katlego.
Yeah, I know we see that really at this point in time it's an exciting one. We're starting with women and we're focusing really on solutions here, and solutions coming through from African leaders that have gathered here. They're going to be here for the 3 days. So far, just give us a reflection of just really what your experience here so far. We know very well that you're also going to be involved in a session at 9:30.
Thank you, Katlego. So we as the Electro-Technical Export Council are supported by the South African Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and through one of their programs, the EMEA program, they have supported us to bring in 19 delegates from 8 African countries, me being DRC, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Zambia and Zimbabwe. And our role really is to see how do we create market opportunities for South African businesses into the African continent, specifically in terms of the energy infrastructure that is going to be built. We do know from the AFDB that we have got an energy deficit of about 90 billion US dollars every year that needs to be built over the next 10 years to make sure we can bridge the energy gap that we have on the African continent. So given the extremely good competencies that we have in South Africa as businesses, we will be taking those expertise and those skills onto the African continent. On the issue of women, we align very closely with an organization called African Women in Energy and Power, where we make sure that we can attract new entrants into the export environment, especially black-owned companies, women-owned companies, and we've had very good engagements in our energy conclave here. Yesterday, especially with our SMMEs, where 10 of our SMMEs pitched for investment to our larger companies, such as Actom, ABB, Siemens, Nyamazela Metering, and so on, to see how they can work with them and partner with them to go and engage in projects on the African continent.
Where are we? I know very well that businesses have been hard done by the energy crisis, not just here in South Africa. Zimbabwe, for instance, is experiencing challenges of its own. Just let us in on how businesses have been faring. We know in South Africa that at least there's a little bit that we are working towards. Now we have a Ministry of Electricity to come and mitigate and try come through with solutions. But businesses have been hard done. The economies have not been moving the way they should be moving. Let us in on really how has it been? Just give us a picture of the African continent. So
fortunately, I mean, for us, our focus is beyond South Africa. So the South African issues in terms of our energy crisis, extremely important to us. We've been discussing with Department of Public Works and Enterprises, Department of Small Businesses, to see how we can get our SMMEs particularly to engage in renewable energy projects in this country. So we know that we've got a huge renewable energy project database implemented already. I think the government and the ministers have spoken to exactly what we've done, and it's been accelerated in the last few months in terms of what we've actually done in the renewable energy space. So South Africa, despite the criticisms, we're doing quite well. And I think we're, if I stand to be corrected, but we are the second largest renewable energy producer on the African continent. So we're doing quite well, and those competencies is what we use to take on to the African continent. So you don't produce 6,500 megawatts of renewable energy in 10 years and not have capability built up. That's what we've built, and that is what we're taking to the African continent. The African continent has got a huge deficit. We've got 600 million people without access to power. If we go with SDG 7, and let's say we've got an average of 3 to 4 people in a household, we're talking 90 million connections that we need to put every year between now and 2030 if we're to meet that goal. If we as South African don't work with other African countries to install that new electricity, we're going to get that expertise from elsewhere. So our role as the Export Council, together with the Department of Industry, together with small business, together with women in energy, we are saying let's use South African competencies, let's use African competencies to go out there and build that infrastructure. But more importantly, when the infrastructure has been built, we need to make sure that it is our African brothers and sisters, the young people on this continent, the women of this continent, that are going to maintain that energy infrastructure.
We have the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement as well that needs to find expression, and the businesses that are really working through this process here at home and on the African continent. Really, do you see this African Free Continental Trade Agreement finding expression and helping those businesses where the issues of energy are concerned?
Well, interesting you should mention that, because tomorrow in this very conclave as well, together with the EC Export Credit Insurance Corporation, who we're collaborating with, and the ECIC, what they do is that they make sure that they can support the South African exporters in the infrastructure space, to support them with the financial risk that they may face. So together with them, we've got what we're calling our Africa Energy Colloquium, and in that colloquium, one of the key topics we're going to discuss is the impact of the energy deficit on the African Continental Free Trade Area. To that end, we'll be honored to have the Deputy Director General of Trade Invest South Africa, Ms. Lerato Matabuko, tomorrow to come and talk to us around the AFCTA and how we can work together as business to make sure that we can address that energy deficit. So that is a key topic that will be discussed here tomorrow.
And in about a couple of minutes, you'll be embarking in this process of the thematic session that you are going to attend right now. Let us in just briefly around what we can expect from that session.
So the next session we're going to host now is going to be the Nigeria country focus. And of key interest with Nigeria, we're saying to them they're a huge gas producing nation. We've got the head of the gas aggregation company from Nigeria with us as one of our guests under the inward buying mission. And she's going to talk to us around the issue of gas to power. I think you heard Mr. Mantashe talking yesterday, Minister Mantashe speaking about our just energy transition, how we have to move with that transition. One of the things we need to look at critically as Africa is the gas to power. Can we use gas to power as part of our energy transition? And I think that's one of the key topics we're going to talk about. But also the fact that with Nigeria, there was a joint ministerial commission that was set up. I'm heading up the energy portfolio within that commission. And that's one of the discussions that we're also going to have with our Nigerian counterparts. We've got about 10, 15 Nigerians that will be with us today. As the largest economy, we need to be speaking to them. We need to be in that market. We've got a very small market share in the energy space in Nigeria. We've got to increase that market share. We're working with the DTIC to see how we can collaborate and make sure we do that.
Shivoni Evans, thank you very much, and everything of the best where that is concerned. She's coming through as the CEO of the South Africa's Technical Export Council. It's one of the 8 councils, I must say, that exist here on the African continent, and she's going to really be embarking on that process of solutions. We're looking for solutions. The exhibitors are here as well. They started at 9 o'clock, and most of them are just discussing those solutions that are well needed, not just here in South Africa, but on the African continent. Desiree?